Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Welcome to
Evil Twinema.
Hey everybody.
Hi, hello, hi.
Welcome to Evil Twinema.
Yes.
I'm one of your hosts, Evil Dave.
I'm another one of your hosts, Evil Tom.
And we just climbed through the vortex one more time.
Yeah, people keep leaving it open, so I figure why not?
Yeah, knocking ourselves out, robbing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Evil Tom?
I'm doing great. My evil twin is in the corner there. Just he looks like a frightful mess. I don't know. He's leaking. He's leaking out of his butt and his wiener.
That's fine.
Just laying there all a shambles. It'll be fine though. Other than that, I'm doing great, man.
Yeah. I'm excited for Kanye to be our next president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how it went over here, but yeah, Kanye won in a landslide, and it was just by like nobody else even, like all the other candidates died of COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we call it Bovid.
Yeah,
you know,
we call it Divock.
It's evil. It's evil. Yeah,
Divock.
Yeah. So we thought, all right. So we've talked to you about Back to the Future. We've talked to you all about Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we'd do something a little more topical this time and just go through the films of the last year or so that we're kind of into.
You know, we're kind of getting to the end of the year, so we figured we'll do like a year-end retrospective of all the great films that have come out in the past 12 months or so.
And not just like the movies we love, everybody's talking about Dolittle. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Downey Jr.'s back finally.
Mm-hmm. Got a whole new franchise. Yeah.
Yeah. But we wanted to sort of highlight the films that we personally enjoyed. And,
right. Yeah. Because everybody likes Dolittle. Doubtless you've heard and read already over a dozen think pieces of how Dolittle's great and speculating on the sequels and how many awards it's going to win and all that. So we didn't want to bore you guys with another Dolittle podcast because there's probably, if it's anything like our universe, there's already 100 of them out there.
Yeah. Tom, do you want to start with yours or should I start with mine?
I'll let you start with yours.
Okay. Well, my pick this year was the cerebral. I guess I don't know what it's hard to pin down this movie in a genre, but
it really does. It defies traditional genre classifications. It's one of its strengths, I feel.
Yeah, this is Artemis Fowl.
Mm-hmm.
There were a good amount of people talking about it, a lot of film nerds.
Of course, I mean it's a Kenneth Branagh film. When are you not going to discuss a Kenneth Branagh film?
Right. I do feel like this movie kind of passed people by a little bit because it was a very dense idea. And I don't know if everybody got it. It was kind of like that movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Boy, that Charlie Kaufman guy, he just keeps popping back up and can't get a win, man. He just can't.
He can't get a win. He just copied Artemis Fowl.
Right, yeah.
Basically.
Man, talk about white dudes failing upward. Just Charlie Kaufman keeps churning out trash and it's really kind of embarrassing when you have such a superior film like Artemis Fowl.
Yes.
In front of audiences in the same year. And it's like, okay, man, sure.
I guess I'll go through the plot a little bit in case people haven't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I don't want to spoil this for people because it's got a lot of layers. A lot of really cool twists. Yeah. It's seemingly, all right, it starts with this older man in prison. Mm-hmm. And he starts talking about Artemis Fowl. And as we go, we follow this. We follow two stories really. We follow this kid in his house, and nothing quite adds up. It's like a bit disjointed. He seems to have this narcissist view of himself, and at the same time, we keep cutting to this old guy in this elfin world who's like a failure and lonely. And this is Mulch Diggums, and he goes to jail. And as
can we say real quick, just played beautifully by Josh Gad.
Yes. Oh,
Just
amazingly.
a fucking all-time career performance from Josh Gad.
Right. And what we figure out is Mulch Diggums, he keeps talking about Artemis Fowl like he's this hot shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, meanwhile, Mulch's life is like, you know, kind of really depressing.
He's in jail. He's getting into prison fights. He's a petty crook.
Right.
He's kind of like a joke.
And they both see this young woman in both of their stories, who's the same age. They say she's like an elf. She has the power to like do mind control. Like it's kind of like a really bitter, resentful view of women.
Mm-hmm.
And what we learn by the end, if you're paying attention, is that Mulch is the older Artemis Fowl. And he has been, like that's how these stories connect. And he has been reliving in his head, having been detained in reality. He's been living in his head these fantasies of himself as a kid, sort of justifying the life of just petty crime he's actually had. You know, like he rewrites things. Like he shows that he's in jail at one point and he's with ogres, like breathing fire. And he attacks one and like plugs his nose. And it's like really clearly he smothered a guy in jail.
Yeah,
you know,
he
and
just
this
killed
is
a guy with a pillow.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of like symbolism of his like dying childhood. Like I'm still piecing it together. At first I thought, oh, did Artemis die surfing? Because they show him surfing at the beginning, and there's no connection there. And I think it's just supposed to symbolize the height of this character's childhood and the ultimate realization that Mulch and Artemis are the same person. But at first I thought, like, because Mulch says he loved Ireland, talking about Artemis. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, past tense. I think Artemis is dead.
This is in the past, yeah. And
but
also just the whole, they really pull a real surreal game on you here, and it's so well done, so admirable.
Yeah.
The fact that Mulch is regaling us with the exploits of this incredible genius criminal Artemis Fowl, who is him, but he's just aggrandizing his own past. And the story he tells us about Artemis is about this impossible war between the human world and the fairies, and how there's this treasure that is going to like unite and stabilize the universe and keep everything in check. And somehow it's all the conflict and the adventure and the mystery and the solution are all contained within Artemis's house. And
right,
the movie never lets in that it recognizes how impossible and ridiculous and weird and stupid that is. It's impossible. It can't happen. But that's like your first big signal. Well, it's not your first big signal. It's like the biggest signal that this isn't really happening. And it's all in this old, bitter, sad Mulch guy's head as he rewrites his own childhood.
If you remember, the movie opens with Mulch Diggums getting like brought in by police from that house. So you could argue that maybe they don't give us too many details, but I'm pretty sure like the idea is he's just been living in that house for a really long time,
doing petty crimes.
It's a lot to unpack. He talks about how they're hunting the Oculus, which I think might be a nod to the word Oculus or like eye, as in like
I'm sure
hunting the truth. In Rome, that's like the top of structures that goes to the heavens.
Mm-hmm. He's uncovering uncovering the truth about himself that he is unwilling to accept.
Right. And we're seeing all these things, like again the fairy girl who can control minds shows this like resentment, but also like a lost love that he's pining for.
Yeah.
I think the only parts that are reality are the black and white scenes, because they have these black and white scenes, and they don't make any sense otherwise. So I'm pretty sure they're just the reality.
Right, like a director as accomplished and acclaimed as Kenneth Branagh wouldn't just randomly make a scene black and white, just because it looks cool. Like that has to mean something. Right. And I think you're right. I think the black and white of that scene represents the reality of his life as being mundane and boring and just, like a waste, like a real tragic waste. And then the rest of the movie is this impossible ridiculous story about this boy genius having a universe-spanning adventure within the confines of his house.
Right.
And it's all these bright colors and weird, crazy things happening. I think you're 100% spot on in that reading. Yeah, absolutely.
There's also a lot of like, I don't know, signs in the technology because everybody represents a form of his mind. Like, for example, the bad guys, their main weapon is a time bubble. So they literally put a bubble around the house and stop the world outside.
Yep.
The way the world has stopped for him living in this house.
Yeah.
Just reliving, his childhood tragedies and regrets. I mean, I'm pretty sure in reality, what happened was him as a kid found out his dad was a criminal and died. And then in his mind created the Oculus and brings his dad back because he can't handle it.
Right.
And
he has to believe that his dad was some sort of heroic criminal who was like protecting the realm from a world of fairies.
Yeah, and like if you watch Colin Farrell's performance, it's very like unlively, like very like someone who doesn't want to be there or maybe isn't really there.
Right. Like he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's unemotional. It's sort of floating in and out of scenes. Judi Dench also makes that decision as well.
Yeah, I think Judi Dench might represent in some way. I think Judi Dench represents a different aspect of that of the young girl he keeps seeing, who he resents so much.
Yeah, she's like. And she represents time and aging.
Yeah.
If you remember, Colin Farrell is kidnapped by like this cloaked figure that feels like a lot like death. Mm-hmm. Like he's being taken in by death.
And it's interesting to note that the cloaked figure is also a woman.
Right.
This
clearly
this is all inside. He has such resentment and fear and conflict with just the idea of women in his life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His relationship with women is really weird. His relationship with family. When he finds out his dad is missing, he drops a glass of milk, like representing like his childhood shattering right there and then.
Yeah, the death of childhood right there, yeah.
Yeah, it really reminds... It's got a lot of themes, like Bridge to Terabithia. If you remember that movie, it was about two kids going into a fantasy.
Who doesn't remember that movie? It was a juggernaut franchise.
Right. And like kind of dealing with death that way. There was a movie that I don't think people remember because it wasn't directed by anybody like we know, but Shutter Island. Mm-hmm. I think there's themes here because if you remember the end of this movie, so he's in this institution. Even the institution looks like it's like an island. Like it's like these weird island bases, and it's clearly like feels sinister to him. And like in Shutter Island, there's a similar thing where he's on an island institution and he thinks he's uncovering this vast conspiracy. And the reveal is spoilers for this movie. Not that you care. No one saw this movie. But like the reveal for Shutter Island is that no, he's a patient there. Mm-hmm. And at the very end, they try to convince him like, no, you're a patient here. And he glosses it back over and continues with his delusion. Mm-hmm. And something very similar happens in this movie where, like, again, the black and white scenes, he's clearly in an institution. They're interviewing him. He doesn't understand what's happening. And then instead of being convinced, it goes to color, and he imagines a lot like the ending of Brazil, actually.
Yes.
That like
I was getting a lot
ladder,
of Brazil from this.
Yeah, a ladder comes down and it saves him at the last minute, and it's Artemis, his fantasy child, his fantasy version of himself, and it's clear that he's crept back into his delusion.
Yeah. It's Artemis's dad, and then the girl that he loved and lost is there as well.
Yep.
It's just it's like his childhood coming back to rescue him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very ending Brazil. It's less on the nose. They don't make it as explicit, but I'm pretty sure that's what's happening.
Oh, that's the only thing. That's the only intent that could be behind that scene.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like freezing to death or dying in that moment too. There's a few things that I'm still trying to figure out. Like I don't know the meaning of the fact that his dirt eating. I mean, it's clearly like, something's wrong with him. Stretching out the mouth. There's a lot of digging. There's a lot of going down. Like when they find the dad's lair. Like there's this moment. It's the moment where the kid finds out. Like, all right, I think what it represents is the first time his mind broke over this. Is that he found out his dad was a criminal. He finds it on TV, and his butler is like, it's the moment that like everything goes from reality to not reality. His butler is like, but wait, check under here. And they go down into like a crypt in the house. And he's like, your dad was actually like a secret fantasy agent. And like, that's clearly the point where the kid snapped when he was young. Yeah. But it's an unreliable narrator at the same time, because this is all through Mulch's fantasies. And they all kind of represent pieces of his broken mind.
Right. And of course, like, obviously, he never had a butler as a child. The man is, first of all, his name is Butler.
Right.
He's like this impossible mentor figure who is also an incredible warrior that teaches him how to be Batman, essentially. It's like, it's very clear that this person never existed.
Oh, yeah. Well, he keeps, like, making up characters as he goes.
Yes.
Like, they introduce that the butler has, like, I think
has
kid
a niece,
or,
like
a niece. And they don't introduce her until, like, halfway through the story. And they're like, oh, by the way, there's a niece. So, like, as he's doing these fantasies, he's filling in holes with new characters.
And she keeps appearing and disappearing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so much disjointed stuff like that where like the editing doesn't work and the like they make like they keep introducing people in really cheeky ways where they're like the butler, but don't call him Butler. And then later he's like, the guy's a centaur, but don't ask him for a ride. And like everybody, like every character has like a weird chip on their shoulder that's like kind of similar, and it's like really simplistic and like. Again,
I think it all goes back to Mulch's insecurity about what he actually is, and I think that's what the dirt eating is. Like he's trying to. That's as close as he gets to reconciling with his own reality. Is that right. He's a lowly petty criminal, a bottom feeder, literally. And he tries to turn that into a superpower that actually makes him an incredible criminal. And at the same time, when we get to see how he uses his bottom feeding to be a super criminal, he's shitting all over the fairy creatures who derided him.
Yeah, it's all very like disturbing and surreal.
Yeah, it's very Dante's Inferno.
Yeah,
it's very like this. Yeah, this is like an epic poem about like how people are going to be punished, but like the subtext is this is how like. It's like a revenge fantasy against everybody that like was mean to Dante or drove him out of Florence. Mm-hmm. Like that's what it is. It's a revenge fantasy.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. And he just can't get past it. And like if you saw the imitation film, the lesser film, I'm thinking of Ending Things, that also it copies the same idea where everything's disjointed and it's dream logic.
Characters appear and disappear.
Yep. Yeah, you can't really escape. And then, like, they start spilling
all trapped
into
in the
reality.
House.
Yeah, exactly. It's all trapped in a house. Mm-hmm. It's just like the idea that certain characters don't age. Mm-hmm. I think I'm thinking of Ending Things. They sort of do the opposite, where they age suddenly. But it's the same thing. It's playing with time. It's disjointed. It's pretty brilliant. But again, I think it passed a lot of people by. So I hope people check it out. It's on Disney Plus.
It's definitely top 10 films of the year.
Absolutely.
Top 5 probably.
Yeah, I'm still definitely digging through like everything in it. Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, there's
going to be books written about this film.
It's definitely a film school type
this
of
movie. This movie will be taught in film school for sure. For sure.
It has all the pieces. But yeah, I guess that's my movie of the year, Artemis Fowl.
Okay.
It's on Disney Plus. I know no one really, it's like a lesser known.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like Voodoo. It's not like one of the big ones.
No, it's not like Tubi.
Yeah.
Or
But
Quibi.
it's
it's a
lesser known one, but like toss them some money.
Yeah, you'll get more wonderful passion projects like Artemis Fowl.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to support the arts. And speaking of supporting the arts, my pick is technically from last year because it came out in December, but it's within the last 12 months. And this movie is all about supporting the arts and understanding your own limitations in terms of being an artist and understanding your role as either a creator or a patron, right? Like
okay.
a creator or somebody who consumes, right?
Okay, yeah. This sounds good.
And the movie, of course, is Cats.
Oh yeah, fucking Cats.
Of course, the incredible, just breathtaking live action adaptation of Andrew Lloyd Webber's stage play, done by the brilliant Tom Hooper, I believe, is the director.
Yeah. A lot of no names in it, but I remember it being really good.
Yeah, no, and I think the message is behind it is pretty powerful. Obviously, everybody's seen it. Just a quick recap: the story is about the gang of cats called the Jellicle Cats.
Jellicles,
The Jellicles, everybody knows.
Yeah, I have a Jellicle tattoo.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, everybody. You all have seen the BuzzFeed quiz where it's like which cat
which
gang are you?
Yeah.
And if you're, it's anybody who's anybody gets Jellicle.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing their the Jellicle ball to see who gets to go up to the Heaviside layer, and it's basically these cats are all making their argument for why they should be the one chosen to ascend to greatness.
Right.
And I think that's Andrew Lloyd Webber talking about, okay, this is the community of people, of creatives, quote unquote. And they're trying to decide which one of them is the one who's actually the genius, who's actually the visionary, who's actually the one that needs to be pushed up and elevated. And it ends with Grisabella getting chosen to go to the Heaviside layer, to ascend to greatness,
right?
To be born again.
As you know, it's a pretty straightforward allegory for the religion we all follow. You know, where you get in a hot air balloon and you go into
you fly up into space in a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
But for Andrew Lloyd Webber, he's talking about getting pushed into success, basically. Right. And it's interesting to note that Grisabella, unlike the other cats, every other cat we see in the film is either some kind of scamp, a thief, or somebody who believes they are a thing but aren't actually.
Right.
Like you've got Augustus, the theater cat, who is like, I was a great actor, but he was the fact that he casts all these characters as cats is very telling, because obviously Gus was never an actor. He's a cat. He's just a cat that lived in a theater.
Right.
So he's essentially what Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tom Hooper are saying with Gus, for example, is that Gus is just a person who consumes so much media that they believe they had a hand in creating it themselves. Does that make sense?
No. It's interesting because I don't want to stop you because you're on a roll here, but like I'm not a cat person, but I loved this this movie, and I think you're getting to something. But it's just like I never really thought about the message because I was too enamored with the characters, with Jenny Anydots and like McCavity, one of the scariest, like one of the most iconic villains now.
Oh, sure. I'm glad McCavity's a real important point that I
everybody's dressing like McCavity for Halloween. It's there's going to be so many imitations of people like doing McCavity in the future, actors, and Bustopher Jones. like we're all kind of, I think we all kind of got wrapped into the story and the characters, and like not really about the meaning, because it's just it seems like a pretty straightforward film when you first watch it, just an adventure about these cats seeing who's the most jellicle. So, and like it got kind of commercialized and a lot of money poured in.
Oh yeah, sure.
So,
it's an action figure merchandise powerhouse. Like every kid's got a Jenny Any Dots. There's Cat's lunch boxes. I mean,
yeah,
they've already announced 3 sequels. But I think that it's going to dilute somewhat the original intent.
Okay.
And I'm glad you brought up all those characters. Buster Jones, the perfect example. What's Buster Jones' main characteristic? He's gluttonous. All he does is consume. But he puts on airs of being this sophisticated recognizer of finery, and then in reality we just see him eating in garbage. Jenny Any Dots is someone who is of high status but is lazy. She just sits in the house all the time and teaches rats and mice how to dance and feed her chocolate. And that's something. Like she's on a little bit, but it's only halfway there. She has the status but not the creative engine behind it. Like she's wasting her time doing dumb shit.
Yeah, it's like it feels like it's about class somehow.
It is very much is about class, and Grisabella is the glamour cat. Grisabella is a cat who used to be great, and now is considered not great. But she's the one she's the one that's got it. Obviously, she's the one that gets elevated because she's the glamour cat. She sings the best song. She had that status, that high society, and that everybody just sort of forgot about it. And I think that's Andrew Lloyd Webber commenting on how maybe people forgot about him, like they forgot about how great Starlight Express was, for example.
Right.
All the great things he did. And he was like, listen, I'm still the same high society person, even though you haven't paid attention to me in a while. I'm still the greatest person. I'm still the greatest artist with all the greatest ideas. I don't care about all of these other fancy people singing around and dancing about how they get to go to the Heaviside Layer. And
it's a comeback film. Like it's the way Dolittle is kind of like a commentary on Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly, yeah.
Like we all loved him when he was like a criminal. Mm-hmm. And then he cleaned up his act. We were like, not interested in that. Mm-hmm. And then he came back and like, because Dolittle is, it starts with Dolittle kind of down on his luck and no one's forgotten about him. Mm-hmm. And then he gets we've all seen Dolittle, but like it's everybody talks about how that's like, it symbolizes Robert Downey Jr.'s career. And you're saying that Cats with Andrew Lloyd Webber is kind of a similar thing.
A similar thing, yeah. Like people, like he had all these great things in the past, and now people were sort of like down on him, and now he's coming back hard. He's coming back hard, baby.
Right, and he's going to be in the balloon in the sky.
He's going to be in the balloon in the sky because he's the one that deserves it. And then the last character you brought up, McCavity, obviously, iconic villain.
Put Idris Elba on the map. Like we didn't know his name.
Nobody knew who Idris was. Yeah, and now he's everywhere.
Yeah, he's going to get all sorts of offers just because of this role.
Well, yeah, I mean, he won like so many Oscars for that role. This movie, this movie is drowning in Oscars for the production design, the special effects, the acting.
Oh yeah,
the directing, everything. It's like I don't know how many Oscars it got in this universe, but in ours, it's like it set the record. I think at 14. It's something crazy. Anyway, the point is McCavity represents the lowest of low class. Like most of the cats in this movie are low class. Like we start with the ones that are living on the street. You got Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, who are just like mischievous thieves, and then you got McCavity, who has committed every human crime. They say his whole offer to why I should be the one that gets to rise above of the sea of so many creative voices just vying for the spotlight is he's going to lie and cheat and steal and connive his way into it. So he represents the lowest low class in the creative community, just trying to bowl through with underhanded, dirty tricks to take it away to try and steal the opportunity from the people who really deserve it, which are the older has-beens who still have got it, but like, hey man, they're still great. They paid their dues. They're the ones that we should be looking at. Like, keep giving. Right. Why should we stop giving them opportunities just because they're old? The old ones who came from glamour should be the ones who get all of the opportunities until they die, and then we reincarnate them so that we can keep giving them the opportunities they deserve. That's what the Heaviside layer is about.
It's why we're giving Mel Gibson so many roles, because it's like, look, he's old, man.
Let's keep giving it to him. Listen,
keep giving it. Just keep giving it. Keep giving it. Pile more onto that pile of gold.
Yeah.
How big can it get? Let's find out.
We don't need to look for another Mel Gibson because we found him.
Right.
And that's what the argument Andrew Lloyd Webber is making through Grizabella in Cats.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little bit, there's a big element I wanted to talk about,
sure.
Which is, it's not really a big element, but it kind of relates to sort of like the revenge fantasy scenario that we touched on with Artemis Fowl.
Right.
And then the idea of Cats being, I think, a very angry piece about Andrew Lloyd Webber just bursting in and it's angry, but it's also like triumphant. He's like, I'm here, I'm still here, and I deserve all of these things. I deserve to keep having all of this success. If you notice, none of the cats have anuses.
Oh, man, you're right.
Yeah, and you would think initially, like I saw some articles around the time of this movie's release, commenting on the, just the breathtaking visual effects that were noting the fact that the cats themselves didn't have anuses as some sort of oversight. They're like, wow, it's weird that they don't have buttholes.
Right. You'd think with the really advanced visual effects, you'd see some like, real moist like buttholes,
real crinkly, gaping, prolapsed anuses, like really giant cat anuses. Yeah.
Yeah, like the balloon knots, just like kind of textured, perfectly detailed.
Mm-hmm. Little sarlacc pits on the asses of each cat.
But none of that.
No, it's surprisingly smoothed over.
Yeah.
And I think that screams of intent. Because what does that mean? That means that
they can't poop.
It means you can't poop. And what does that mean? Well, that means that you can consume and consume and consume as forever, as long as you want, but you can't ever put anything out
in this world. Yeah,
in this world. Am I going too fast for everybody? Like,
no. There's a lot of stuff like Jenny Anydots has a whole thing about eating mice and cockroaches. Mm-hmm. So they definitely talk about consuming. Mm-hmm. But if you notice, there's never a song about them pooping.
No.
That's weird, right? They spend so much time on them eating,
mm-hmm.
nothing on them taking like cat dumps,
mm-hmm. Just
on the streets.
Yeah, and I think that screams of intent because it can't be an oversight,
right?
I think
you'd want that. You'd want that song.
Exactly. We need that song about a cat just bracing itself and taking just a trembling, massive shit of genius creativity.
Right.
And I think that the intent behind this statement is that all of these, every character in this film, except for Grizabella, and we never see Grisabella's anus because she's covered in her old fineries, and I think that's
right.
Every single character assembled in this film is an unworthy pretender to the throne. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Sure, they sing and dance, but it's so like all they do, like Gus, who just believes he's a theater cat. Scrimbleshanks, who believes he runs the railroad, but he doesn't really. He's just a cat that sleeps on the train.
Right. So they don't have anuses. They don't put out.
They don't produce anything. They don't produce anything. They just sit there and absorb things, and then they think that makes them creative. But no, sir.
what are they saying about McCavity then? Because McCavity has clothes at first, and then in the middle of the movie, like with no explanation really, is suddenly just naked.
I think it's McCavity. It's a comment on the type of person McCavity is a person who is grasping, who will do anything to rise above their station, even though it's where they belong.
Right, hiding the lack of anus.
Trying to hide the truth of who he is. Like he's like, oh, I'm wearing clothes, I'm just like you, and then at the end he's just a fucking werewolf, an assless werewolf.
Yeah,
who's just trying to steal the heaviside layer. He doesn't deserve it. That spot should go to the old ass person who's been in the business forever and is kind of running a little stale maybe, but just needs another chance. Just needs another chance in that spotlight.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's what it represents. And then this movie essentially, Grisabella ascending to the heaviside layer and getting reborn, getting another chance, getting that great huge opportunity and keeping it away from all of these low scum that don't deserve a platform, like the platform on that hot air balloon that she uses to rise into space.
Right.
I think that her ascending into the clouds and vanishing in between the clouds and the brilliant sunlight, like I think that is Andrew Lloyd Webber spreading his own anus and just dousing us with his creativity, with his genius. That's what that means.
Beautiful.
He's like, it ends with him rising off into the sun, and the sun is the eye of the creator. And in this allegory, the eye, it's the
coveted anus.
The anus eye of the creator, and the creator is Andrew Lloyd Webber. So what other than Andrew Lloyd Webber's anus could that sun and that shot represent? What else could it be?
Yeah, you're right.
It's like, look at behold the works of my anus.
Right.
That's what that means.
Yeah, I think. Well, okay. I do think the movie works in a very literal sense. Again, it's most people found the movie to be like a pretty straightforward story, easy to understand adventure.
Yeah.
Musical, but like I love it when like you dig farther in and you realize that these plot points and these set pieces double for a bigger meaning. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe people like this is why these movies work. Yeah. Whether or not we notice it, our brain notices these things,
and this is why these movies stick around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why they
years
last.
Later, people realize, oh, that's what they were talking about. We didn't even notice it at first because we were too caught up in the hype of it all. That we didn't notice the obvious anus in this shot and the lack of anuses. Like it's like jazz. It's where you don't see the anuses as well.
Right. It's the asses you don't see.
Yeah. And so that's that's really cool. I'm gonna have to rewatch it just thinking about the anus stuff. And yeah, the fact that these are all I feel like I understand it. It's basically you're saying that these characters are all the anusless. They have high opinions of themselves, but they don't actually put out anything.
Correct.
And so they all talk about being jellical. But in a way, like the only true jellical is a small handful, which actually, or the old ones. The old ones. What about the other old one, the one played by that guy, McKellen something.
That's Gus.
That's Gus. Okay, sorry.
The one you're thinking of is Old Deuteronomy, who's Judi Dench, and the implication. Man,
Judi Dench just like these hits.
Yeah. This and Artemis Fowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. It's she's representing. She's the one that ultimately makes the choice to push Grisabella into the heaviside layer against everybody. All the other cats are like confounded by this decision, and it represents the need for gatekeeping in the creative arts. Like you have to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah.
If we
you're
don't
right.
keep giving these opportunities to the old people that deserve them.
Right, we got to give it to these yahoos. And it's like, why are we giving it to young, like, energetic people?
No.
Give it to the old experience.
Exactly. And the time and again, we see it gets proven. Look at the output of Clint Eastwood, man, lately. Gosh, best work of his career.
Best work of his career.
What if we had stopped giving Clint Eastwood millions of dollars?
Right.
To keep making movies, we'd be robbed of so many great,
we'd have nothing to watch.
Incredible films.
Yeah, we'd have to fucking watch those Avengers films or something. Like, it's like there'd be nothing. There'd be nothing going on.
Yeah.
Man, now, sorry to go on a tangent. I'm just looking up Judi Dench's career because I haven't really thought about her. But she, like, killed it. And like, she did Cats and then Artemis Fowl, one after another.
Yeah.
That's
it was an incredible year for her, for sure.
Yeah. She's really, like, she hasn't had much until that. Mm-hmm. So, like I'm looking, like, to see, like, if there's any hits. I mean, she was briefly in it's Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, so that's a win. Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of shit. Just a lot of shit. And so, oh no, she was in Chronicles of Riddick. That was a big one for her. Yeah, and then I'm just scrolling, seeing nothing, just nothing here. So, like, I don't know. I'm happy. Like, it's sort of what you're saying, is that late in her life she got success, in these two movies. So that's cool. Because yeah, it was looking real bleak for her until Cats and Artemis Fowl came along.
I mean, yeah, she's guaranteed award season recognition this year, and so many more. And roles hopefully are Andrew Lloyd. Her way. Yeah, and hopefully Andrew Lloyd Webber, gets like hopefully this movie becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy here, and we all learn from it. Is look to the old artists, who've been around for a really long time, and say, hey, what do you have to say about society now? You're the people we should be listening to. Mm-hmm. I need to hear Andrew Lloyd Webber weigh in on culture and society.
Yeah.
For as long as we. Yeah, exactly.
What does Clint Eastwood think about politics? Does anybody ask him?
What does Clint Eastwood?
I bet he's got a lot to say. Yeah.
What does Clint Eastwood think about the media? And that's when we get incredible films like Richard Jewell.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think there's a big lesson to be learned here from Cats.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think it's again like Artemis Fowl. That's just there's something about it where you watch it and it's like, man, that really. I mean, obviously it was a great film, but something about it really resonated. Let me think critically about what that is, and then you go back and you watch it over and over again, and then it becomes clear the intent behind it.
Right. It's layers. It's layers.
I mean, that's. Yeah, I mean, I think we came off with two pretty strong picks for the film of the year, honestly.
Right? Yeah. I hope you guys enjoy it. You don't have to hear about Dolittle for the 100th time.
No.
Like, look, I love Dolittle. I love Dolittle.
Yeah, we all love Dolittle, obviously. Yeah, obviously.
But like, enough is enough sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't keep hearing about like Dolittle and like, I don't know, Money Plane and like The Turning. Like everybody's talking about like New Mutants. Of course, everybody fucking loved New Mutants. Like the Wrong Missy. Like these are all like I get it. Like there's a lot of really good films out this year.
Yeah, a lot of really great genre films like Unhinged.
Yeah, Unhinged.
Really solid comeback performance for Russell Crowe.
Yeah. So like. I wanted to talk about something that, wasn't just the shit people have been talking about, not just the Playmobil movie, because like we get it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was incredible.
It's got a great message for kids, and it was cool that they were like it wasn't that commercialist and they had to work it out, or like the really like Fantasy Island. Yes, we were all scared. It was freaky. But there's not much more to say about it anymore. So I think it's good that we kind of dug into some, like these weren't hated movies or anything, of course, but like people were less. I don't know. I mean, Cats was big. I shouldn't say that.
They're both, they were both, I think, well received. But it's like we really wanted to make sure that we contributed to the discussion of these.
Right.
Of these,
Something like a.
Yeah, like these landmark pieces of art. We wanted to make sure that we contributed to the discussion of these important films. Yeah,
I think we tackled them at an angle that most people didn't.
I think so.
Necessarily talk about them.
Yeah,
as.
they're the really analytical lens that we provide.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we accomplished.
I think
what
we accomplished our goals, and also my doppelganger's starting to wake up. So.
Oh, you can just hit him again. But yeah, we should probably go. My portal's closing too. I got to get back to things.
Yeah. I got some some minds to flay. You know how it is.
Yeah. We all flay. Mm-hmm. We all flay in our dimension.
My schedule is wall to wall flaying. It's my planner is crazy. I should show it to you sometime.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's it. Thanks, alternate dimension, for listening to us.
Yeah.
If you're interested, you can check out our live journal.
Mm-hmm.
It's gamefully unemployed /livejournal.com.
Yeah, gamefullyunemployed.myspace.com, and then of course you can of course you can find us on Friendster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can check out our Vines. Mm-hmm. We have some pretty good Vines.
We've been pretty good with the Vines. Yeah, not to toot our own horns, but we're pretty good Vinesmen. Yeah, we're on the bleeding edge of the Vine creators.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm going to dive through my portal.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. All right. Keep it real.
Yeah, keep it real. Yeah, keep it 2020, y'all.
Mm-hmm. God bless Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
Bye forever.
Bye.
Bye.